case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of people here this afternoon. Thank you all very much. I want to thank Tanya Stevens and Eric Sermon and Grizzly Bear, Cesar Vargas, Justin Long, Sally Cohn, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Assemblyman Juani Williams, and one of the great actors in America, Danny DeVito. Welcome to the political revolution. You know, when I was a kid growing up in Flatbush, our parents would take us to Prospect Park. They still have the seals and the elephants? All right. But I was never here speaking to 20,000 people, so thank you all very much for being here. This is a campaign that is on the move. This is a campaign that a year ago was considered a fringe candidacy, 70 points behind Secretary Clinton. Well, they don't consider us fringe anymore. This is a campaign that has won 8 out of the last 9 caucuses and primaries. And with your help on Tuesday, we're going to win right here in New York State. This is a campaign which will defeat Donald Trump. Mr. Trump will not become president of the United States. That's for sure. This is a campaign that is bringing millions of people into the political process. Working people and young people who are sick and tired of establishment politics and establishment economics. We want a government which represents all of us, not just the 1%. This is a movement of people who are prepared to think big, not small. People who want to elect not just a new president, but to transform America. And this is a movement where people understand why it is that we are not addressing the real issues facing our country, and that is we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Here is a simple truth which everybody understands, whether you're progressive or conservative, and that is you cannot have a super PAC raise many millions of dollars from Wall Street or special interest and then tell the American people with a straight face that you're going to stand up to the big money interest. Not true. Let me say a few words about some of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself. When we began this make a very important decision. And that decision was, should we do like every other campaign, Democrat and Republican, and establish a super PAC? We said no. We do not represent the interest of Wall Street or the billionaire class or corporate America. We don't want their money. We're going to do it a different way. And what we said was so revolutionary and simple. What we said to the American people, to the middle class and working families, if you want a candidate who will stand with you, please stand with us. And in the last year, we have received 7 million individual campaign contributions than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. Anybody here know what the average contribution is? $27. And that is what the political revolution is about. And that is that we're going to win this thing without being dependent on Wall Street or the big money interests. Secretary Clinton has chosen to raise her money a different way. She has not just one, but a number of super PACs. Last reporting period, her super PAC listed $25 million from special interest, $15 million from Wall Street alone. But it is not just super PACs giving her substantial sums of money. It is the fact that today she is reported, as you all know, to give speeches before Wall Street for $225,000 a speech. Now, if you give a speech for $225,000, must be a pretty damn good speech. Must be a brilliant and insightful speech analyzing all of the world's problems. Must be a speech written in Shakespearean prose. And that is why I believe that Secretary Clinton should share that speech with all of us. But it is not just how we raise our money. It is the major foreign policy issue of our time where we disagree. In 2002, Secretary Clinton, who was then in the Senate, and I, who was in the House, we heard the same evidence from George Bush and Dick Cheney about whether or not we should go to war in Iraq. I listened very, very carefully. I didn't believe what they were saying. I voted against that war. Then Senator Clinton heard the same evidence I did. She voted for that disastrous war. The worst foreign policy blunder in the modern history of America. But it was not just As Congresswoman Gabbard often reminds us, it wasn't just Iraq. She was active as Secretary of State in overthrowing the government of Libya without thinking about what happens the day after. And she wants a no-fly zone in Syria, which in my view will get us sucked into a never-ending war in that area, something that I vigorously oppose. Secretary Clinton and I disagree on trade policy. She supported virtually every disastrous trade agreement, from NAFTA to permanent normal trade relations to China, trade agreements that have cost us millions of decent paying jobs as corporations shut down here, throw American workers out on the street, and move to China and other low-wage countries. I not only opposed all of these trade agreements, I helped lead the opposition to all of them. And if elected president, we are going to transform our trade policy. Corporate America will start investing in this country, not just in China. Secretary Clinton and I disagree on minimum wage policy. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. She believes we should raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour. Not bad, but not good enough. We need to raise the minimum wage $15 an hour. And I am proud of the fast food workers who went out on strike, who had the guts, and I've been on the picket line with them, to have the guts to tell the American people, if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. Thank you, fast food workers. Secretary Clinton and I disagree on a major environmental issue. One of the great environmental crises of our time is the need to preserve clean water. We're not going to do that with fracking. We've got to get rid of fracking. And the people of this world need to know that there will be clean drinking water for them and their kids in the years to come. We have got to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and say fracking is eliminated all across this country. And related, I'm a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment. And anyone who comes before you and tells you that climate change is not real, is not caused by human activity, is not already causing massive problems in our country and around the world, that person is lying to you. We have got to understand that leaving this planet healthy and habitable for our children and our grandchildren is a moral issue. And we have got to tell the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. And we have got to listen to the scientific community who tells us we have got to be bold and aggressive now in transforming our energy system. To let you know that I have introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation in the history of the United States Senate. And that legislation includes a tax on carbon. Secretary Clinton does not support a tax on carbon. I am right, she is wrong on this important issue. Everybody here knows that as a result of the greed and the recklessness and the illegal behavior of Wall Street, this country was plunged into the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. Millions of people lost their homes, they lost their jobs, they lost their life savings. The United States Congress, against my vote, voted to bail out Wall Street. And they bailed out Wall Street because the major banks were considered too big to fail. Well, it turns out that 3 out of the 4 largest banks today are bigger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. Turns out that 5 banks recently could not even produce documents as to a living will and how in a financial emergency they would break themselves up. I believe when you have a handful of financial institutions in which the top 6 have assets equivalent to 58% of the GDP of this country, when they issue 2/3 of the credit cards and 1/3 of the mortgages, the time is now to break them up. All of you know that last week Goldman Sachs formalized a settlement with the United States government for $5 billion. Other banks reached even larger settlements. And the reason these guys are paying these fines is because, as everybody knows, they were producing worthless packages of subprime mortgage loans, which helped precipitate the great financial crisis of 2008-2009. What I find amazing is that some kid today in Brooklyn is going to get arrested for possession of marijuana. That kid will have a criminal record for the rest of his life. But you can be an executive on Wall Street, and your illegal actions can impact the lives of millions of people, but you get no criminal record, not you. You get an increase in your compensation. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring justice back to our criminal justice system. Secretary Clinton and I disagree on Social Security. Here's the fact. Today in New York City, in Vermont, and all over this country, millions of people are struggling to keep their heads above water on $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. Disabled veterans, people with disabilities, not able to buy the medicine they need, not able to keep their homes warm in the winter, not able to buy the food they need. Now, my Republican colleagues in the Senate, they've got a brilliant idea. They think the response to that crisis is to cut Social Security. Well, I've got bad news for them. We are not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security benefits. And I have outlined a very specific way to do that. Right now, somebody makes $5 million a year, somebody makes $118,000. They're both contributing the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund. Lift that cap, start at $250,000. We can expand benefits significantly for seniors getting less than $16,000. And extend the life of Social Security for 58 years. I have challenged Secretary Clinton and challenged her. She still refuses to come on board and lift the cap, demand the wealthy start paying their fair share into the system, and expand Social Security benefits for the elderly and disabled vets. The reason that our campaign is doing so well is that we're doing something really radical in contemporary American politics. We are telling the truth. And here is the truth. When a handful of billionaires like the Koch brothers and a few others are able to put more money into the political process in order to elect candidates who will represent the interest of the wealthy and the powerful, when the Koch brothers and a few others can spend more money on a campaign than either the Democratic or Republican Party, that is not democracy, that is oligarchy. And we will not accept that. And we will not accept Republican governors trying to suppress the vote. Cowardly governors who are afraid of free and open and fair elections. And I say to those governors, if you're too afraid of a fair election, get out of politics, get another job. This campaign is going to win because we are talking about a rigged economy. Brothers and sisters, the United States is not supposed to be about an economy in which the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. It is not about an economy where the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom 150 million of people. It is not about an economy where one family, the Waltons of Walmart, own more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. Together, we are going to create an economy that works for working people, that works for the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor, all of us, not just the 1%. And this campaign is gaining momentum because we understand that our criminal justice system is broken. It is an international disgrace that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We are spending $80 billion a year to lock up 2.2 million Americans. And together we are going to end that right now. Right now, in this country, youth unemployment is off the charts. You have kids between 17 and 20, where if they are white, 33% are unemployed or underemployed, Latino, 36%, African American kids, 51%. And that is why we are going to invest in our young people, in jobs and education. In jobs and education, not jails or incarceration. I want these kids to be working. I want them to be in school, not hanging out on street corners. We are going to bring about real police department reform from one end of this country to the others. I am tired, and you are tired, of seeing unarmed people being shot and killed by police. Now, I was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont for 8 years, and I worked hard with the police department in my own community, all over my state, and all over this country. And here's the truth. The overwhelming majority of police officers are honest, hardworking, and do a very, very difficult job. But the other truth is that just like any other public official, if a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We need to demilitarize police departments all over this country. We need to make local police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they represent. We need to create a culture in which lethal force is the last response, not the first response. We need to end private corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. We need to end the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. And lives have been ruined. If you're a kid and you're out looking for a job, and your future employer, your prospective employer asks you, have you ever been arrested? Well, yeah, I was. Well, somebody else may get that job. Now, right now, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug right next to heroin. I think that is crazy, and that is why I have legislation in and will make happen as president, removing marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Legalizing marijuana is a state issue, but it should not be a federal crime. And when we talk about drugs, everybody here understands we have a horrific epidemic of heroin and opiate addiction. People are dying every single day from overdose. We need a radical change in how we treat drug addiction and substance abuse. We must clearly, the sensible approach is understanding these are health-related issues, not criminal issues. And that is why we need a revolution in mental health treatment in this country. People should be able to get the treatment they need when they need it, not 6 months from when they need it. This campaign is going to win because we listen to ordinary people, not just wealthy campaign contributors. A few hours ago, I was in Brownsville, here in Brooklyn. And I visited with some New York City public housing in Brownsville. And what I learned is that in Brownsville, in Brooklyn, all over this city, all over this state, we have a $17 billion backlog in construction needs. We have community centers for kids that are closing down. We have kids who are unemployed and have no hope of getting a job. Unfortunately, they do have hopes and do have success in getting guns. Our job is to give kids jobs, not guns. And that is why together we are going to transform our national priorities. We are going to rebuild inner cities in this country rather than waste trillions on wars we never, ever should have gotten into. And this campaign is listening to our African American brothers and sisters. They want their kids in good, effective public schools, not in schools that are crumbling. They want their families to have access to health care, and they want the environment in their neighborhoods to be clean so that kids are not coming down with asthma. In Flint, Michigan, a few months ago. What I saw in Flint was literally hard to believe in terms of it occurring here in America in 2016. Children being poisoned by lead in the water. Together, we are going to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, whether it's public housing in Brooklyn or the water systems in Flint, Michigan. And when we do that, we create millions of decent paying jobs. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. There are 11 million undocumented people in this country. Many of them are being exploited because when you have no legal protection, employers can take advantage of you. Many of them are living in fear and living in the shadows. I agree with the Latino community. We need comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. Congress does not do its job, I will use the executive powers of the president. the Native American community. We owe the Native American people more than we can ever repay. But from day one, before we became a country, they were lied to and cheated, and treaties that had been negotiated were broken. If I'm elected president, there will be a new relationship with the Native American people. This campaign is listening to women. And women are telling me they are sick and tired of earning 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. They want the whole damn dollar, and they're right. And I know that every man here is going to stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. You know, as we speak, you got Republican candidates running all over this country talking about family values. And let us be clear what they mean by family values. What they mean is that no woman here today or in this state or in this country has the right to control her own body. I disagree. And what they believe as a family value is that our gay brothers and sisters do not have the right to be married. I disagree. Jane and I have been married 27 years. We have 4 kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. We believe in family values, but those values are a little bit different than Republican values. We believe that it is an international embarrassment that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave. I have been criticized for saying this, so let me say it again. It is my very strongly held view that health care is a right of all people, and not a privilege. It is my view that there is something wrong when every major country on earth, everyone, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Holland, Scandinavia, Canada. I live 50 miles away from Canada. All of these countries have managed to provide health care to all people as a right. We are the only ones who have not accomplished that. Now, today, as a result of the Affordable Care Act, we have made some good progress. We have done away with pre-existing conditions. We've added 17 million to the ranks of the insured, and we've done away with discrimination against women for the price they pay for the health care they receive. But despite those gains, 29 million Americans still have no health insurance, and many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and high copayments. And every day, all of us are getting ripped off by the greed of the drug companies who charge us the highest prices in the world. And then on top of all of that, we end up paying far, far more per capita for health care than do the people of any other country. That is why, in my view, we need to move toward a Medicare for all single-payer program. And that program will save the average middle-class family thousands of dollars a year in their health care costs. Brothers and sisters, all of you know that real change never takes place from the top on down. It always takes place from the bottom on up. That is the history of America. That really is the history of America. History of America is that over 100 years ago, when workers were forced to work 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, they had no rights, they could be fired at the whim of the employer. Workers said enough is enough. We will be treated as human beings with respect and dignity. We will form unions and engage in collective bargaining. And millions of workers came forward and in doing so helped create the American middle class. And hundreds of years ago, when slavery was rampant in this country, African Americans and their allies said, "We will not accept this abomination. We will not accept segregation. We will not accept racism. We will not accept bigotry." And millions of people came together and said, in America, racism will not be part of what this country is about. A hundred years ago, which from an historical perspective is no time at all. 100 years ago, women in America did not have the right to vote, to get the education they wanted, or do the work they wanted 100 years ago. But women stood up. Women fought back. Women went to jail. Women went on hunger strikes. And women and their male allies said that in America, women will not be second-class citizens. If we were here 10 years ago and somebody jumped up and said, "You know, Bernie, I think that gay marriage will be legal in 50 states of this country by 2015, person next to her would have said, "You are nuts." But that is exactly what happened, and it happened not because of a decision of a conservative Supreme Court. It happened because millions of people stood up. The gay community and their straight allies said that in America, people will have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. That is how change comes about. Right now, all over this country, people are looking at the status quo. They're looking around them and they say, in this great country, how does it happen that we have more wealth and income inequality than any major country on earth? How does it happen that we have a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, and we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth? How does it happen that our infrastructure, our water systems, our wastewater plants, our roads, our bridges, our airports are crumbling in this great country. How does it happen that we are the only country, major country, that doesn't guarantee paid family and medical leave or health care to all? How does it happen that we continue with a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections? How does it happen that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? And all over this country, people are looking around them and they're saying, this is not what the status quo should be. We are going to change the status quo. And people understand a very profound historical lesson, and that is no president, not Bernie Sanders or anyone else, can do it alone. The only way we make real change is when we stand together. If anybody here thinks, oh, we're going to elect Bernie, he'll do it all, you are mistaken. Can't be done. Wall Street, corporate America, the corporate media, the wealthy campaign donors are so powerful. No president alone can do what has to be done. And what has to be done is that millions of people have got to stand up and demand that we have a government that represents all of us, not the 1%. Donald Trump will not be elected President of the United States. He will not be elected President because the American people will not support a candidate who insults Mexicans and Latinos, who insults Muslims and the Islamic people from all over the world, who insults women, who insults veterans, who insults the African American community. Let us not forget that before Trump was a candidate for president, he was one of the leaders of the so-called birther movement, which tried to delegitimize the presidency of the first African American president in history. Donald Trump will not become president because at the end of the day, what the American people understand, that our strength as a people is in our diversity. That we are strong in black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American, when all of our people come together, and that coming together is always more important and always trumps dividing us up. The American people understand that when we support each other, when I'm there for your family and you are there for my family, that supporting each other always trumps selfishness. And the American people understand, maybe most profoundly, the lesson of every major religion on earth, whether it is Christianity or Judaism or Islam or Buddhism or whatever it may be. And that is that at the end of the day, love trumps hatred. there is going to be an enormously important Democratic primary here in New York. What this campaign has taught me is that we win caucuses and primaries when the voter turnout is high. We lose them when the voter turnout is low. Let's have a record-breaking turnout on Tuesday. New York State helped lead this country into the political revolution.